Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Azmi Nur Aziza. My student number is 192122147. We are from group 5. We will explain about material design. The member of group are me, Azmi Nur Aziza. Second is Ramdhan S. The third is Raden Senny Indah. The fourth is Rahmi Nur Afifah. The fifth is Rian, Januar, Fadillah, and the last is Ulman Wafi. Define of material. The first is definition. The second is form of material. The third is roles of material. The fourth is characteristic of material. The fifth is where to get material, and the last is sample of materials and conclusion. And the first material will be delivered by me. According to Tom Hudson and Alan Waters, 1986, English for specific purpose is teaching which has specified objective. According to Hudson and Waters, 1987, material design should be started by determining their purpose or asking the question what the material are supposed to do. The model for ESP material design they offer consists of 4 elements. The first is input, the second is content, the third is language, and the last is task. English language word got along well enough without it for many years. So why has ESP become such an important part of ESP or English language teaching? In ESP, students hope by learning ESP can serve as a guide to all present and future in habitat of ESP. The ESP is related to learning central approach because in development ESP has paid scant attention to the question of how people learn, focusing instead on the question of what people learn. That's enough from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Rahmi Nur Afifah. My student's number is 192122149. Here I will explain about forms of materials. First, there is input. Depending on the needs you identified in your analysis, this might be a text, dialogue, video recording, diagram, or any type of communication data. The input provides a number of things such as stimulus, material for activities, new language items, correct models of language use, a topic for communication, and opportunities for learners to use their information processing skills and their existing knowledge both of the language and the subject matter. The second is content focus. Language is not an end in itself, but a means of transferring information and feelings about something. Non-linguistic content should be exploited to generate meaningful communication in the classroom. The content presents the information, the subject matter that both teacher and students are dealing with. The third is language focus. In language focus, learners have the chance to take the language to pieces, study how it works, and practice putting it back together again. Language is the one that facilitates the transmission of the information and has to be appropriate for the students. Our aim is to enable learners to use language, but it is unfair to give learners communicative tasks and activities for which they do not have enough language knowledge. And then the last, there is task. The ultimate purpose of language learning is language use. Materials should be designed to lead towards a communicative task in which learners use the content and language knowledge they have built up through the unit. While the task should be designed in such a way to offer the possibility of putting into practice the content meant to be transmitted. Alright, we can conclude that these four elements combine in the model as follows. First, the primary focus of the unit is task. And then the second, the language and content are drawn from the input and are selected according to what the learners will need in order to do the task. And then it follows that an important feature of the model is to create coherence in terms of both language and content throughout the unit. And then the last, these elements provides the support for more complex activities by building up a fund of knowledge and skills. I think that's all my explanation. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Raden Senny Ariantini. My student's number is 192122127. This time I'd like to deliver material, and the title is Roles of Materials. Okay, let's start. The first one is materials as presenter a stimulus to learning process. To stimulate the learning process of good material is needed. Good materials don't teach but rather encourage learners to learn. Good materials contain interesting texts, enjoyable activities, opportunities for learners to use their knowledge and skills, and the last is content which both learners as well as teacher can overcome. And the second point is they help to organize the teaching learning process by providing a way through the complex mess of the language to be learned. Good materials should provide a clear and understandable unit structure that will guide teacher and learners. And the third point is they contain a view of the nature of language learning. Good materials should truly reflect what you think and feel about the learning process. And the next point is they reflect the nature of the learning task. Materials should try to create a balanced outlook that both reflects the complexity of the task, yet makes it appear manageable. The fifth is materials can have a very useful function in broadening the basis of teacher training. It is by introducing teachers to new techniques. And the last is materials as presenter models of correct and appropriate language use. And the last is materials as presenter models of correct and appropriate language use. This is necessary function of materials, but it is all too often taken as the only purpose, which the result is materials become simply a statement of language use, rather than a vehicle for language learning. Okay, that's all what I can present. Hopefully it could be useful for us. Thank you for your nice attention. Sorry if I made many mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And the next material, it would be presented by my friend. The time and place is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Rian Januar Fadillah. My student's number is 192122109. In this occasion, I would like to explain about characteristics of material. Alright, we will go to the absolute characteristics first. ESP is tailored to cater the learner's specific needs. It employs informed methodological principles of the disciplines it serves. It focuses on the language suitable with those activities. So, ESP is indeed designed to facilitate the specific needs of the students. He uses a methodology or activity that is in accordance with the discipline of the learner. For example, in teaching English for secretary. The activities or learning methods later when teaching English for secretary, we have to increase practice, be it the practice of writing emails, practicing telephoning, setting schedule, or doing other English for secretary needs. So when we teach ESP, we have to do what they need, like the practice I mentioned above, and not just remembering, like remembering vocabulary or grammar rules, because they won't always be used. What they need more is direct practice and needs to be adjust to discipline knowledge of the students we teach. And it focuses on the language suitable with those activities. So, like earlier, for example, in English for secretary, the activities require telephoning or writing email, meaning that the language function or expression must be related to their job and their daily activities. So, we do not teach narrative text for people who learn English for secretary. English is very broad, so we need to specify what their needs are. Next, if the previous one is absolute characteristics, then there is also a variable characteristics. ESP may be tailored for specific disciplines, so it is designed specifically for certain disciplines. ESP may employ a different methodology from general English, so it is okay if we use a different methodology from general English, because if you teach English in general, it will be general for grammar, vocabulary, etc. But because we teach ESP, so for vocabulary, grammar, etc., it must be specific to be used in their work. ESP can be tailored for adult learners in a university or workplace. So it can be for anyone who has a specific needs to learn English. Either they are academician or either they are professional from a certain company. It is also can be used for beginners with basic knowledge of the language system. Some say that ESP is designed for those who are intermediate or advanced, but according to Dudley Evans and Jones, this conveys that in fact ESP can also be taught to students who are still beginners. I think that's all from me. Apologize if I made a mistake. Thank you for your kind attention. The next material will be presented by Ramdhan about where to get the material. For Ramdhan, time and place is yours.
Now where to get the materials, and then designing a course is basically a matter of asking questions to provide a sound basis for the subsequent process of syllabus design, like material writing, classroom teaching, and evaluation. So we need to ask all kinds of questions, general and specific, or theoretical and practical, such as why do students need to learn, and then who is going to be involved in the process, or where is learning to take place, or when is learning to take place, and whatever. So course design is the process by which raw data about learning needs are interpreted to produce a series of integrated teaching or and learning experiences. So whose main goal is bring students to a certain state of knowledge. And then in practical terms, this requires the use of available theoretical and empirical information to produce a syllabus, and to select, adapt, or write material, to develop methodologies for teaching the material, and establish evaluation produced by which progress towards a practical goal will be measured. And then there are maybe many different approaches to an ESP. Course design as a three are a course designer. The first is language centered, the second is skill centered, and the third is centered learning. And then is the first language centered course design. This process aims to draw as direct a relationship as possible between target situation analysis and ESP course content design. And then this goal on as follows. Here we can see like identify learners target situation and select theoretical views of language, so identify linguistic features of target situation, and then create syllabus, and then design material to exemplifies syllabus items, and then establish evaluation procedures to test acquisition of syllabus items. And then the second, there is skill centered course design, and then it aims at helping learners to develop skills and strategies which continue after the ESP course by making learners better process of information. And then it process as follow. You can see here the first is identify target situation, and then theoretical view of language, analyze skills or strategies required to cope in target situation, theoretical views of learning, so write syllabus, and then select text and write exercise to focus and skills or strategies in syllabus, and then establish evaluation procedures, the use of skills or strategies in syllabus. And then uh, there is it's based on two principles. The first is theoretical hypothesis. Theoretical hypothesis is the underlying in the language behavior and certain skills and strategies which the learner uses in order to produce or comprehend discourse. And the second is the pragmatic basis for the skill-centered approach, derives from distinctions made by Widdowson between goal-oriented courses and process-oriented courses. And then the third is learning-centered course design. And then it is based on the principal course design is a negotiated process in which the target situation influences the features of the syllabus, and is also a dynamic process in which means and resources over time. And then the learner approach is based on the principle that learning internally determined by the learner. And then a teacher, we can influence what we teach, but what students learn is determined by the students themselves. So we can see here too. Now, you can see here identify learner and theoretical views of learning, analyze learner situation, and the other, and you can see yourself here. So according to Kathleen, designing a language courses several components. Those components comprise setting objectives based on some form of assessment, determining the content, materials, and evaluation. And then you can see here a framework of course development process, course designing, assessment needs, formulating goals and objectives, developing materials, designing an assessment plan, and the other. Uh, the image that I saw, that there is no hierarchy in the process, and no order in the achievement. Course design can start anywhere within the framework. That is, the components are interrelated. And then for the next material will be delivered by my friend.
Alright everyone, my name is Ulman Wafi Dj. My student's number is 192122145. Here I will explain about the several materials. First is need-specific materials. Characteristic of ESP material, which is of great significance with team communicative approach, and which seems of particular relevance for ESP, is that of authenticity. According to Januar 2004, interest in authentic material is associated with the name of Henry Sweet, 18 and 99, and its contemporary reference goes back to the discussion on the issue of communicative commented that was initiated by Chomsky 1965 and Haim 1966. Authentic material are used to create indispensable communication. And another key feature of ESP material is that of specificity. Since ESP focus on the specific, purposeful use of language, it is common practice that material designed for ESP are directly target a particular learner group and or related to their reality. For the reason, it is necessary that the material developer determine particular features of the target language that should be taught a particular learner or learner group. Next slide. Alongside the course specialization, there are also some additional factors that need to be taken into consideration as they are likely to influence the design use of ESP material, and they include the following variables. For the first is type of institute, for example, enterprise or university. The second is context, for example, ESL or EFL, educational context. The third is classroom setting, for example, traditional classroom or conference room. And the fourth is learner qualities, for example, proficiency level. And the last, the use of information technology. Okay, all of these factors need to be considered as a part of need analysis before these specific materials are selected, designed, and used. Accordingly, the course designer has to take into account whatever the target group has enough time for regular classes, or whether particular learners will have to rally that need to be answered, such as those related to the most appreciated teaching approach. Incorporation of IT into the course, optimal teaching strategies to cope with the heterogeneous group makeup for and etc. Maybe that's enough for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.